Thank you very much, Shocks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's that time to decide the first semifinalist of Group A. After this match, one team will get to rest the whole day until tomorrow, but one team will have to wait anxiously to see if they can make it through to the semifinals on day 2. First up for the winners match of Group A, we have from Europe, SK Gaming! And their opponents, the greatest candidates for this trophy, standing next to me for the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. From Korea, it will be the GE Tigers! Who will secure their spot in the semifinals? It's time to find out with the winners match back at the expert desk.
Thank you very much. SK Gaming got to do that cool intro 2 times in the span of an hour. That's got to get him pumped up, I'm sure.
Good.
Yeah, it's got to feel good. A lot of swagger coming down those stairs. So, pick some bands. We talked about it a little bit already. GE Tigers on the blue side, ideal for them. So, lay down crumbs. Must bands for SK.
Being that they are on purple side now, I think they're gonna have to take and hit themselves with the Lulu ban. You just cannot allow GE to play this because they're gonna bust out the Juggernaut comp, and nobody has beaten it. It has been spectacular to watch them execute it, and have been the only team to be able to execute it really well. And besides that, I think that perhaps some Victor bans as well. It's not a common pick in Europe, and it can be very difficult to deal with, especially against these assassins, as we have seen Victor being able to deal with the likes of Ari and LeBlanc.
Also, just the wave clear is highly problematic, letting him have that death ray where you can just continually move the wave off the tower, which does slow them down. So GE can play a measured game here, I feel. They can just pick wave clear champions and just wait for those power spikes, but they need to be very cautious, obviously, and kind of abuse the pressure. So I think a lot of this has to do with how well Lee can get ganks off.
Yeah, and that is actually the one strategy that we maybe touched on for Cloud9 to try and go for, but it ended up putting Lee on Lee, which is his favorite champion. And I think maybe it won't be a good strategy overall because there'll always be a viable jungler that he'll be good on because his team is also there to support him, because we've seen him not doing a lot in the early game in some recent games versus Jin'er as well. It's not a vulnerable point.
You can't really ban out Lee too much because if you do, like you said, you give up that Lulu ban potentially, you give up, a Lucian or possibly a Corki. Prey is basically the best Corki in the world right now. The guy is insane. And, you still have to worry a little bit, too, about that Kog'Maw. Not so much if you ban the Lulu, but it's still out there. So I think Lee's going to get a pretty good number of choices for the jungle spot.
I think this is a matchup that you just can't afford to drop any jungle bans. I'm sure these teams are willing to take the Lee Sin into Rek'Sai. It's not the best matchup, but Lee Sin can provide just as much early pressure as the Rek'Sai. And we know Svenskeren. Now, he hasn't played it in the LCS this year, but he can play the champion. He has played it for past years, and he's very good at it. And same goes with Lee. We just saw in the Cloud9 game. So I do think that this game would probably be tailored more towards the likes of the bottom lane and the top lane, just because mid lane, Fox has shown that he can play all these assassins very well, and it's not the focus for SK. Helping out Fox and really snowballing him, especially on the likes of LeBlanc when he just ends up getting solo kills by himself, wouldn't really be the place to focus for the GE Tigers.
I think we will see the Nidalee ban, though, and the reason is because Svenskeren has been strong on that champion, and GE simply does not play it. So they did ban it against Cloud9. They felt that was a major threat, and so I think we'll probably see it coming again.
You did mention Fox, and Quickshot brought it up already. If we're very certain on what Forgiven could do, we're not so certain in what Fox could bring to the table. And you mentioned Diana, but the game was just going all in SK's favor for a long time, so I think that could still be a vulnerability on the table.
Well, it's going to be interesting too, because as we talk about these bans, it really does seem like, aside from maybe a Victor ban, the mid lane is going to be left relatively untouched.
So the question here is SK, who have gotten a lot better this season in individual quality in the lanes, are they good enough to, if they take all the standard lane matchups, if they do their normal path, are they strong enough to get enough of an early lane advantage?
Well, even that hasn't been enough against the GE Tigers. We've seen them take huge early game deficits, and they play from behind so well with these kite compositions that it's super risky.
Yeah, anyone who watched possibly the GE versus Samsung series in the Korean League saw GE play fairly poorly, but still managed